Okay, guys, Blake here again. So I went over the OptiFlow, my little homemade system in the last video I made for you guys. Okay, so what I'm going to show you here now is the Airvo2. So ultimately, this thing is a little bit different. We use it for the same purpose of trying to deliver, 100% humidified heated, high humidity kind of systems and everything, or high flow systems. Okay, so we're going to use this with high flow cannula. You can set it up on a trach, stuff like that. All right, what's different about this is it's really a flow generator, meaning it's got a little system in the back that is pulling in filtered room air. All right. And that's going to do two things. It's going to help us deliver our total flow when necessary. It's going to kind of push some of that gas to the patient. All right. And it is also going to be responsible for kind of allowing us to dilute FiO2 down. So this thing, it's a little bit different in the sense that we only are going to have oxygen going to it. All right. We don't need to hook up a room air 50 psi line or anything like that. And actually, the way that it's set up is a little bit strange. So you can see I got like a gas block mounted to this pole. I have 50 psi high pressure oxygen tubing hooked up. Okay. So I'm going to plug this in. That pressurizes with 50 psi this gas block. And I just got two simple flow meters in right now. I got a couple other spots where I could add some other attachments if I desire to do so. I have two flow meters. I have a standard, or not a standard, I have a lower flow meter that goes up to 25 liters a minute. And then I got one that goes to 70 liters a minute here. I have just simple oxygen tubing coming off of that flow meter. Where the machine really works here, I'm going to move Fred out of the way and take a seat so you guys can see me and not hunch down. Okay, where this thing really works is this unit right here. So this does require wall power. They do make battery packs so you can transport on these things. I don't have one, obviously. I'm going to plug this in at the wall. If you look back over here, we got a red outlet. You should get in the habit of plugging a lot of our devices in on red. Red are the ones in the hospital that if something happens and you lose power, the emergency generators are going to kick on, and you won't lose power or anything like that. It'll be a quick switch over. So this thing gets powerized. Okay, let me show you a couple of things here. So that oxygen tubing we were talking about, really all it's doing is getting bled into the back of the system right here. Okay, where this thing works, it's actually pulling a ton of room air through this as it's generating that flow. So it's got like a big blower motor. It's pulling room air through. As we crank oxygen from the flow meter, we're simply mixing pure oxygen with the air it's taking in here. Okay, but we're actually going to directly set flow digitally on this. And this flow meter up top is misleading. Okay, it does not actually set the flow going to the patient, and it actually does not directly set the FiO2 that is going to the patient. Okay, we're changing this and bleeding oxygen in, and we're going to have to look up the readout on this device here, which we'll get into in a second. So keep that in mind. Simple oxygen tubing. This is just the gas that we're bleeding in with the room air it's sucking in, and it requires a closer look. This by itself means absolutely nothing. It's just something we use to kind of run the device. If you look here, all right, I have looks similar to our other heated kind of hot plate systems. All right, it's got its own built-in little heater here. We're going to take our simple little passover humidifier. This is a brand new fresh one. I'm going to pull the tab out the tops. That exposes these two openings. Once again, this is just a simple passover humidifier. It doesn't matter which side air goes in and out of. It's going to go out one, or into one and out the other. Okay, I'm going to go ahead, just like the other one. This piece pushes down. We're going to click this in place. All right, but before I do, this thing does have a specialized place here. All right, where gas leaves the system and goes to the passover and then goes back out and goes through the circuit. So it comes with this particular piece right here, okay? Ultimately, this goes on like that. And then these two gas outlets right here, let me take that out of the way. You can see gas coming from the machine going to the passover, and then it's coming back to the machine to come out the top of this. All right, we're going to line these up, and we're going to push it where everything gets kind of nice and sealed on there. Come on. We should push till it clicks. I don't know why it's not going on here really snug. Hang on. There we go. Technical difficulties. Hang on. Make sure I got that on there really good. Okay. I'm locked in. You want to make sure you got a good seal there. I just couldn't get it pushed in far enough. I had to put this on there a little bit better there. Okay, so now our humidifier is all squared away. I'm going to go ahead and I'll actually spike it back because we'll run this tomorrow. All right, I got my little water spike here. I got my bag that I made sure says sterile water, nothing funky. I'm going to twist this little piece off. Okay, I'm going to take this spike, trying to not touch it on anything. I'm going to put it straight down into this hole here. You're going to push, and I kind of do a twist. You want to be careful not to stick it out the side and get a leak. All right, it's automatically going to start filling that once again. You can use this little piece right here, and it opens it up and can kind of make water drain in there a little bit quicker sometimes. Vents air out. I don't use it personally. Okay, so this thing auto-fills. All right, let's talk about the circuit. So my circuit, well, it was right here. It's got this fancy clip at the very top where you can actually clip this thing in. I'll kind of show you this little piece up top. You actually, that little white piece, it attaches to your circuit so it's not draining on the ground or anything like that. This circuit is proprietary. We can't just pull something off a ventilator or something like that and use like I did on my OptiFlow. Okay, you can see this is also heated wire, but instead of the pigtails and temp probes, everything's kind of internal here. All right, so if you look right here on the top of the machine, all you're going to do, it's kind of got a little bit of a triangle shape. You're just going to line everything up. You're going to push, lock this down into place, and it should stay put. To take it off, you got to slip this little collar up, and then it kind of comes undone. So no temp probes, no pigtail, all heated wire circuit, all in one. Okay, this thing, it's got like a little clip. If I was going to wear this instead of the lanyard, it allows you to clip it onto a gown or something like that and keep it put. As far as interfaces go, all right, let me show you a couple of things here. So once again, we're typically using this with cannulas and stuff like that, so a heated high flow cannula. All right, the connector's a little bit different. You got to have stuff that's designated for this Airvo. All right, you're going to push until it clicks, and it kind of locks it in pretty good, okay? So push till you get the click. We got prongs. Once again, the sizes are color-coded. I think you got like a red, green, and orange. Don't quote me on that, okay? And then you have the ability to kind of adjust some of those straps by kind of tightening or loosening these back here. Okay, so we got our prongs. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stick these in Fred. This thing, since it's a flow generator and it's got a computer, it can tell if I got a leak, and sometimes it'll freak out if I just have this thing run by itself. So I usually wouldn't have my patient in my lap like this. All right, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to get them hooked up. Realistically, I like to let these things kind of warm up, especially on the OptiFlow, before I stick it in somebody's nose, but it should heat up pretty quick. I'm going to set Fred back down. Once again, Fred is a trach, so we probably would not actually be using that. I'm going to try and change my angle on my camera here so you guys can see this really well. All right, maybe. Okay, so what we have, let's twist some stuff around. We got some different buttons back here, all right? First and foremost, we got our power button. I'm going to press and turn this thing on. Just kind of show you. Once I actually got to show you some stuff, I'll really lift it up. You don't need to worry about reading it right now. It'll tell you when this thing was last disinfected. I'll show you how to clean this thing in class. Okay, it's a long process, but it does it automatically, internally cleans it. It's going to go ahead and start up. Come on, buddy. Okay, so if I look really close, and I don't know how well you guys can see it, that's kind of weird, but it shows us the temperature, so it's heating up. It shows me the flow, and then it shows me the FiO2, okay? By hitting the little play button, I can kind of scroll through, and I can see the same things. It's set at 37. I set my flow at 60. And my FiO2 here, okay? So we'll deal with FiO2 last. So let's come back to this. All right, if I wanted to change the temperature, I can't hit the up or down arrows. It's locked. If you press and hold the up and down key, All right, for 3 seconds, it allows you to adjust. Okay, we always want to typically run this at 37 degrees unless a patient was complaining and we could turn it down. But even though they're breathing through their nares, we want to, they're getting such a high flow, we want to make sure that gas is fully conditioned. Hit play again to lock it in. I'm going to hit the play button. All right, flow rate. 60 is a good starting point. We'll talk about titrations and stuff. Once again, if I wanted to change it, press and hold. And I can turn it down in increments of 5. 60 is actually where we start and where I really leave most of my patients on. There's really not a lot of reasons to turn down. Not everybody needs 60 necessarily, but I typically run it at that. All right, so let's go to FiO2. You'll notice it doesn't allow me to make any changes, and the reason being, this is just showing me what FiO2 I'm currently giving. If I wanted to increase my FiO2, and you're not going to be able to see everything, I need a professional camera crew or a better camera or something like that, to increase this FiO2, I already set my flow rate that's going to the patient. They're getting 60 liters. Okay, Fred's getting 60 liters. If I crank up, all I'm doing is opening my flow meter and bleeding more oxygen into the back, it's going to analyze the gas. And by increasing the flow, I'm just mixing more 100% oxygen in. And you see the FiO2 going up. It's leaking. So this is a good thing. It does. I got an alarm kind of reset here. It's telling me I got leaks. I can hear it kind of coming out of Fred. He doesn't have really the greatest anatomy here. I'm just going to take it out of Fred and kind of include it with my hands. And this gas is nice and warm. It doesn't even feel like it's a lot blowing or anything, okay? It'll try and tell you where to check for leaks and stuff like that. You can always double check, make sure it's squeezed on really nice and snug. All right, mine, it's telling me I'm not really hooked up and included to anything, okay? So you can make sure that that's on there correctly. If you didn't already, it tells you where to kind of check everything. All right, get on. Okay, so once again, if we wanted to look back through and see, I'm going to keep my finger on it. Come on. We'll maybe make somebody wear this thing tomorrow when I guess I could wear it. I don't know how clean my prongs are. So once again, we changed flow through here, and this is the flow generator, okay? All we're doing up top is to change the flow coming from the flow meter in order to change the FiO2, but we got to look at that readout. I'm going to go ahead and turn this thing off here while we finish talking. Press and hold, and it reminds you to turn off your oxygen. Okay, so the biggest thing that kind of messes people up when they're used to the OptiFlow is coming in, looking at this flow meter and making changes, okay, and thinking you're changing the patient's flow rate. This just changes FiO2. And you might get everything set back there, but then all of a sudden, if you change flow rate, you need to adjust this again. One bad thing about this is it will go off on an alarm if you try and give more than 95%. It doesn't allow you to give 100%. And I realize we should avoid trying to give people 100% FiO2, but when we initiate this, a lot of times we're doing this for patients that they couldn't, weren't getting target sets on a non-rebreather or something. We're using this to sometimes buy us time, but sometimes it'd be a standalone therapy. Okay, very commonly we start people on 100% on an OptiFlow, and this one you can't do that. You can do 95, but then our goal is always to try and get them weaned down. Once again, we keep flow and FiO2 kind of separate. So I would keep my patient on 60 liters a minute on this until I get their FiO2 weaned down to a sustainable value, a safer value, 40% or something like that. And then we can decide, should they still stay on high flow or should we switch them to a low flow type device or something. So once again, we'll play with this in class, but the biggest difference in the Airvo is, once again, changing the flow meter up here doesn't really do a whole lot. It just bleeds more oxygen or less, okay? So that is where we'll kind of pick up and we'll play with this thing a little bit more in class. A little bit different regarding, the circuitry and building it and everything like that and running it, but still pretty user-friendly and easy. You could actually hook this up with a tank if you had the battery pack one and transport this, okay? And once again, the OptiFlow doesn't have you don't have ability to maintain that heater temperature, so you couldn't transport even if you had a medical gas and a medical oxygen tank for transport or anything. And you don't want to give this gas cold; it would irritate you like crazy, it'd burn your nostrils and everything like that. Okay, so we'll play with this a little bit more in class, and I'll kind of show you how to approach building the circuit again in person and everything like that. But this is just a video for your reflection. As we're actually putting on patients and stuff, or you get a mannequin with more of a appropriate intact airway and stuff. Once again, it doesn't keep showing that check for leak alarm or anything, and you can see the screen a little bit better. So sorry for the poor video quality, but hopefully this helps. I will see you guys later. Bye.